Hello, this is the Heavy Thrash at a Nasty Man Production channel at YouTube. And so, to kick off US Power Metal Month, we are here to talk about Savatage's first 5 albums. No, that means that includes Fight for the Rock. Ah, fuck it. We're just gonna review first 4 albums. Yes, which does not include Fight for the Rock, which are Sirens. And yes, this includes the EP, The Dungeons Are Calling, Power of the Night, and Hall of the Mountain King. Which this skips Fight for the Rock and Gutter Ballet. Gutter Ballet, I don't think is not a power metal album at all. Thing is, Savatage were a bit more, at times were on the progressive metal side, though they do get lumped within the progressive metal, but some of the really early stuff were around the power metal side. Not too much like Fate's Warning, and not as progressive as Queensryche, but we're kind of in the middle. Some of Savatage's earlier stuff were definitely heavy, especially on the album that we're talking about, which is their debut album, which is Sirens, which was released on April 11th, which is just a few days away. Yeah, I guess anniversary. And you're probably thinking, why am I not reviewing this album on April 11th? Because that's not the way I want to do things. My channel, my way. So, Sirens. This is actually the first Savatage album I ever heard. This is, and of course I don't have a actual physical copy. I only have a burned copy that my brother made me, which combines most of the bonus tracks from all the other copies. But this was my introduction to Savatage. I didn't know nothing about Savatage before hearing Sirens. And when I heard it, I was really blown away. This is a fucking killer album. And probably my favorite from Savatage. This is just there really isn't a bad song on this album. It's very heavy, and it's also a little doomy sounding. That's kind of the reason why Savatage separates from Queensryche and Fate's Warning. They're just a bit heavier and not nearly as melodic. And it definitely has to be due to Chris Olivia's guitar work, which is just, even on this album, it's, for a debut, it's kind of similar with Fate's Warning's Night Unbroken. Now, Jim Mayhew's guitar work on that is still pretty damn good, but it's definitely not as similar to the guitar work on here, which Chris Olivia and Jim Mayhew both have a different style of playing. Just Chris Olivia on here, it's at times can be, I guess, bluesy in some ways, because it's very more definitely kind of like that, because the reason I do kind of say bluesy, because there's definitely some sort of bluesy kind of moments on here, like definitely maybe some Robin Trower was probably on play a bit, kind of mixing in to give the album a bit more of a variety. And there's of course some of those Sabbath like riffs as well, mixed in with a bit of the Judas Priest and Iron Maiden like riffage as well, with some proggy moments as well. But this isn't really a prog album. This is definitely an early power metal album. It's definitely noted with tracks such as Rage and Twisted Little Sister, which are just probably the 2 most speed metal songs on this album. But there's definitely some other great moments right here, such as Holocaust and On the Run. This album is definitely filled with great ones, and there's also even we have to also talk about the title track, which kicks off the album. This just sets the album for me, and probably for even most people. The way it's probably one of the best opening songs ever for a metal album. Very melodic, very kind of it's just memorizing. Just fucking great. And John Olivia as well, we have to kind of mention. His singing on here is just as solid as any of the other albums. You'd think that on the debut album, the singer would have a bit of a, you know, kind of difference a bit, but not really here. It's like, this is one of the few times where the singer on their debut album is just pulls off probably, it's where he doesn't sound so different from the other albums. There really isn't that much of a difference between his singing on Sirens or on Hall of the Mountain King. Just fucking great. That's all I can say about it. His performance here, him and his brother, the late Chris Olivia, they're so fucking on spot on this album. However, there's also, of course, with even some USPM metal albums from the 80s, there's definitely the ballad ES tracks, such as I Believe and Out on the Streets. These two tracks are definitely pretty damn good, while I kind of like I Believe a bit more because it turns from a very melodic sort of track to then just a rockin' song. But Out on the Streets is more, yeah, it's just a great track. It's a bit more ballady, but definitely also it just ends the album on a great note. I can't say all too much about this album because to me this is pretty much my favorite when it comes to Savatage. Just filled with great songs, just cheated around the album. Some will say that this isn't nearly as strong of an album, but it's everyone's personal opinions, you know. Everyone's got their favorite albums. To me, this has to be by far my favorite when it comes to Savatage, and I'll at times explain why. However, there is a close to this, you know, to at least when it comes to my favorite picks for Savatage albums. But I also want to bring up this little fun fact that Savatage's Sirens was actually recorded at Morris Sound Studios in Florida. I think Tampa, Florida, if I'm correct. Always can correct me in the comments section. Which, of course, Morris Sound being, you know, a lot of, like, the old school death metal albums and such, like Death, Leprosy, or even like shit. There's just a whole bunch, but there have been quite a bit of USPM metal albums that were recorded at Morris Sound Studio, and we're going to be talking about some of those later on within this month. So, if I really was going to rate Sirens, I probably would give it a 9 out of 10. Yes, I will give it a 9 out of 10 because every time this album comes on, I'm just enthralled within the music of this album. There's just so many, to me there's many high points about this. Either it's within John Olivia's vocal performance or Chris Olivia's guitar work. And sure, lyrics, I can give a shit about lyrics. But Sirens definitely has to be some of the best lyrics for some of this album, if I have to say. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have heard Sirens, you know, post your opinions about the album. Is it your favorite? Is it not your favorite? All goes into the comments section. So, I guess it's time to get into the next Savatage release. The Dungeons.